So The Last of Us just arrived on PC for the first time ever, bringing what I believe to be one of the greatest stories ever told on the medium to a brand new audience. Of course, this is bringing a lot of the graphical power that we got with The Last of Us Part 1 remake last year on PS5. While I was really excited to try out the tinkering of graphics, the ultra wide display, all of that stuff that could really push it to the graphical limit, there was something that excited me so much more, and that was the prospect of playing this thing on the go. So this is the Steam Deck, and of course you can now play The Last of Us Part 1 on this portable device. For the first time, something that a PS Vita 2 could never. But the thing is, you've seen the rumours, you've seen the debates. Does this thing even run on something like the Steam Deck? Is it powerful enough to bring that graphical powerhouse to a portable experience? So I done the unspeakable, and let me bring you in for this. I left the office. Oh no, it is Baltic out there, no chance, no, here we'll do. So, yeah, I live in Scotland, things are pretty cold out there, so this is gonna do. So I've got my Last of Us outdoor camper mug, so, you know, let's just use the power of imagination to say that we are outside. I've got my Steam Deck here, and I am immediately greeted by this building shaders loading time, which is not a part of the initial install, which is like 70 gig anyway, and you are really warned, like, the shaders are building, this is what you want. But of course, let's just go for it anyway. So we're starting a new game, and immediately I'm feeling the heat on this thing. It's really starting to heat up quite a bit. It seems as though we're running, we're building this up. Oh, we got some of the music as well. Okay, so at this point I think I genuinely just thought it was going to take a minute or two. So I kept the camera rolling. I thought this would just be up in a second. There was just a small little circle in the bottom right corner. The dog came to see me. Things kept going and going and going, and then as you'll see here, this is really all we had. This tiny little circle was all we had as an indication of how long the load was taking. And this went on for 5 minutes roughly, just over 5 minutes I believe. It was genuinely taking the piss at this point, I thought. And I even got the chance to play a little bit of Diablo on my Nintendo Switch while I was waiting. And it wasn't until I was just setting up another shot while I was waiting that it finally just randomly started. And at this point, I have to say things looked pretty good. It sounded good, it looked good, and that was without the shaders. I wasn't having the same issues that a lot of people were. It looked alright, but of course, that was a very long wait to even get started. And things really went downhill from there, because immediately we're seeing Sarah switching stances during the cutscene. It happens a couple of times just in this one bit, and it's really surprising to see, quite shocking actually, coming from Naughty Dog, who typically release these very well polished, finished products. And that only continues as well as we go on to the next scene. I had Joel coming into the building, and he suddenly just kind of disappears from Sarah over to the left. It's very weird, it's quite jarring. And then when I thought, you know what, whatever, let's just brighten the gameplay, because I thought it was looking a little dark here. I pressed the Steam Deck button, and then things just didn't like it. It stopped working, and then eventually entirely crashed. And it took me minutes before I could even get anything up and running. It was just completely dead. Thankfully we've got things back up and running, at least from a Steam Deck point of view. So we'll dive back into The Last of Us if it'll let us. And we'll see how we get on again. Take 2.
Jimmy, I am warning you. You have any idea what's going on out there?
I got some notion.
Holy shit. You got blood all over you.
Hey, man, let's just get out.
No cell phone. No radio. Yeah, we're doing great. Let's see what they need. You think you're doing? Keep driving. I got a kid, Joel. So do we.
We have room.
So things are kicking off. We are in the town, and we're down at about 13-14 frames per second. Not the greatest, but of course, oh, here it comes. That must have been less than 10 actually. It still looks good, there's just a lot of the kinks with it in terms of the visual performance. Like the shaders are obviously going to make a big difference to this, which aren't installed yet. At least I don't believe they are. But we're getting our first bit of actual control the game gameplay. So let's see how it goes from there. So quite quickly it became very clear that the Steam Deck just wasn't really made for this. The frame rate was tanking, sitting around 10 to 15 frames per second. I realised that my settings may be a bit high, changed them all to the lowest possible setting thinking that would solve everything. It did not. Whereas before, where you're playing these segments, you feel fear and tension because you're trying to protect your daughter. Here I was just getting irritated over the fact that the technical aspects were getting in the way of my experience. So ultimately it just kind of ruined it all and I didn't want to play anymore. Okay, we'll just get back in the office after trying to play the prologue very unsuccessfully. That's me into the first kind of chapter, you can't see because of the light, of the game. And gotta say, I'm not really feeling it. This game is just not in a good state, at least from a Steam Deck point of view. The stuttering just completely ruined any gameplay segments, and that's before I even had any real gameplay segments, even just running around. And that was with everything on low. If you had it slightly higher than that, nothing was happening there. So on Steam Deck, it really just isn't something that's available. There was a lot of snapping around with the different characters. I tried to close this again just to see how much battery it used, and it crashed. All I done was press the Steam button when it was paused. It did not like it. So we're back to waiting for this. Yeah, ultimately I'm very disappointed. It's not what we really wanted or expected. And honestly, I think the easiest option is if you have one of the Backbone remote play things, use remote play with your PS5 instead, because this just isn't doing it. I accidentally put my hand over the vent on the top of this for like a second, and it froze the game and waited like 30 seconds before it booted up again. This thing is absolutely roasting. Like, it looks really great though, I will say. Like, in still frames, you would look at that and think, yeah, this is really impressive to be playing a game like this on a portable device, and that's even as on the lower settings. But no, it's not for me. It's not for me, so it's not been great. But anyway, thanks for checking this video out. If you liked it and you would like to see more coverage of PlayStation exclusives arriving on PC, then stick with us right here on Push Square. And I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks guys, see you later.